Hey everybody, today we're going to be reading chapter 15. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. Yesterday we got the news that we are not going back to school this year. So I know some of you, like myself, are really upset about that. I was hoping to get to see you again this year, but unfortunately that is not what they think is the safest. So we have to, comply with what our governor and the doctors think is safest for us. So, we'll just be learning this way for the rest of the year. So if you need anything to talk about, if you're really sad about it, if you want to reach out, my email, as you guys know, is mmorin, so MMORIN, at newbedfordschools.org. And feel free to email me. We can chat that way. Okay, so if you need anything, you need to just let me know. Okay. So we're going to dive into our book so we can view chapter 15. And again, we're reading from Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix. Last time we read, he had gotten into the sports family's house. There was a girl. She jumped on him. He screamed, "Population, please." She let him go. So let's see what happens now. Luke sat up, checking his arms to make sure he hadn't broken anything. "You're lying," the girl said. She made no effort to tackle him again. She crouched, looking puzzled for a few moments. Then she grinned. "I got it. You're another one. Great code word. I'll have to think about using that for the rally." Now, it was Luke's turn to squint in confusion. The girl giggled. "I mean, you're another shadow child, right?" Shadow? Luke wondered why his brain seemed to be slowing down. Was it just because she seemed several miles ahead of him? "That's not the term you use," she asked. "I thought shadow child was universal, but an illegal, someone whose parents broke the population law, 3903, a third." Luke couldn't bring himself to confess. He'd broken so many taboos today, leaving the house, standing in the open yard, talking to a stranger. Why did one more violation matter? "You can say it," the girl coaxed. "I'm a third child." "Why should there be anything wrong with that?" Luke was spared having to answer her, because she suddenly sprang to her feet, exclaiming, "Oh no, the alarm!" She raced down the hall and around the corner. Luke followed to find her jerking open a closet door, then punching buttons on a panel of colored lights. "Too late, trap!" She ran to the phone. Luke followed breathlessly. She dialed. Luke watched in amazement. He'd never talked on a phone. His parents had told him the government could trace calls. It could tell the voice on a phone was from a person who wasn't allowed to exist or not. "Dad," she made a face. I know. Call the security company and get them to cancel the alarm, okay?" Pause. "And I might remind you that the penalty for harboring a shadow child is $5 million or execution, depending on the mood of the judge." She rolled her eyes at Luke while she listened to what seemed to be a long answer. "Oh, these things happen." Another pause. Yeah, I love you too. Thanks, Dad." She hung up. Luke wondered if he should run back to his house immediately before the population police really did show up. "They can fine you now," Luke said. "Just from the phone?" The girl laughed. "They say, but everyone knows the government's not that competent." Luke started inching towards the back of the door, just in case. "But there really was an alarm," he asked. "You have security guards?" "Sure, doesn't everyone?" The girl took another look at Luke. Maybe not." She winced apologetically as soon as she had said that. Luke decided to ignore the insult. "Do the security guards know you're here?" he asked. "Of course not," the girl said. "If they came, I'd have to hide. Personally, I think my family just has an alarm system to make sure I stay in the house. They don't know I can disable it, but..." She gave him an evil grin. "I set it off sometimes just for fun." "That's fun?" Luke asked. He thought another third child would understand him, be just like him. This girl sure wasn't. "Aren't you scared the guards might find you?" "Not really," the girl shrugged. "And see, doing it on purpose every now and again. And they help us today. My dad really didn't even ask why the system needed to be stopped. He just thought I was making trouble again." In a twisted way, she kind of made sense. Trying to figure out everything out made Luke's head hurt. He glanced towards the door. If he could get safely home, he'd never complain about being bored again. Here he felt as baffled as Alice in Wonderland from one of the old books in the attic. Or he remembered something he'd read in the nature book. Maybe he was like the prey of a snake that hypnotized its victims before they ate him. He didn't think the girl would hurt him, but she kept confusing him. And fascinated until the population police saw the security guards or someone else had arrived. The girl saw the way he was looking. Am I scaring you? She asked. Shadow kids can be so jumpy. You're safe, you know. How about if we start over? Would you care for a seat? What's your name anyway? Luke told her. Nice to meet you, the girl said, shaking his hand in a way that made him feel like she was kind of making fun of him. Then she led him to sit down on the couch in the room. He'd first entered. She perched beside him. I'm Jen. Really, it's Jennifer Rose Talbot, but do I look like a Jennifer? She shook her head and spread out her arms as if Luke should understand something from her rumpled sweatshirt and messy hair. Luke frowned. I don't know, he said. I don't know any Jennifers, just Matthew, Mark, Mother, and Dad. He knew his parents' real names were Edna and Harlan, but he wondered if he shouldn't keep that a secret, just in case. Probably he shouldn't have mentioned Matthew and Mark, but he was surprised into it, thinking suddenly about how there was a world full of people outside his house, with a world full of different names he'd never even heard. The girl said. Then I have to explain. A Jennifer is supposed to be like really girly and prissy, so the joke's on Mom. She wanted some frilly little girl she could put lacy dresses on and sit in the corner, like a doll. She paused. Are Matthew and Mark your older brothers? Luke nodded. So you've never met anyone outside of your immediate family? Luke shook his head. No. Jen looked amazed. He felt he had to defend himself. And you have? He asked, with almost the same taunting voice he sometimes used with Mark. Well, yeah, she said. But you're a third child, too, Luke protested. A shadow child, right? He suddenly felt like it might be easy to cry if he let himself. All of his life, he had been told he couldn't do everything Matthew and Mark did because he was the third child. But if Jennifer could go about freely, it didn't make sense. Had his parents lied? Don't you have to hide, he asked. Sure, Jen said. Mostly, but my parents are very good at bribery, and so am I. She grinned wickedly. Then she squinted at Luke. How did you know I was the third child? How did you know I was here? Luke told her. Somehow it seemed important to start with the woods coming down. So it turned into a very long story. Jen interrupted frequently with questions and comments. So you've never been away from your house? Except to go onto your backyard or barn? You stayed inside for 6 months? And gosh, you must really hate these houses, huh? And then he got to the part about seeing her face in the window. She bit her lip. My dad would kill me if he knew I'd done that. But the mirrors were messed up and Carlos bet me. I didn't even know what the weather was outside and, Luke said, mirrors? Carlos? Jen waved his question away. Luke Garner, she announced solemnly, you've come to the right place. Forget it, that hiding like a mole stuff. I'm your ticket out. So that is the end of chapter 15. So what I want you to do is tell me, what are some of the new things that Luke has learned by meeting Jennifer? You can tell me about the population police, about what would happen if they found him. What are some of the new things that he's learned from Jennifer? All right, so you can put that in the comments below the video, and I look forward to hearing from you. And I will see you tomorrow for Thursday and chapter 16.